Hi, I'm Justin Miller from Wowza Media Systems, and today we're going to be talking about the REST API for Wowza Streaming Cloud with our friend here, Tim Doherty. Tim, how's it going?
Justin, it's going well. Thanks for bringing me in today.
Tim, I'm excited to talk about this because honestly, we discuss the REST API many times when we talk about cloud, but we haven't seen really any examples of how it works. And in the past, now, Tim, I know you work very often with customers. I do not. I'm the video and webinar producer, obviously. But in the past, I used to work with companies that were interested in software development. And at one point, I worked with a company that was putting dog houses all over New York City for people to be able to leave their dog there, be able to go shopping for a little while and come back. And I get it because people want to be able to take out their dog, get to a certain point, do their own thing, and then maybe come back and pick up their dog. So they had these little dog houses on the side of the sidewalk where they could, using an app, let the dog in, give the dog, say, a certain amount of time, or maybe it was by the minute. I'm not sure exactly how it worked until they opened the door again and brought their dog out. But during that time, they needed a way to make sure that the owner could see the dog through the app wherever they were. Also, a way to record what was happening, just in case, liability purposes, and maybe even a way for someone to be able to monitor all the dog houses on a regular basis in case there was something that was happening that needed to be rectified right away. I'm not sure what that would be, but
Sure.
certainly you don't know what's happening. Maybe a dog is getting very scared inside a place they're not used to without their master. Um,
hmm
so they had our company try to produce an app for this, which of course required a lot of back end solutions. And at the time, I did not personally know about Wowza. I was not working at Wowza. And now, today, had I been able to talk to them again, I would definitely suggest Wowza Streaming Cloud to get them up and running quickly. And certainly using the REST API, they could probably control a lot of that right through the app.
That's exactly right. And that's a wonderful setup for talking about webhooks and having an application like what you described do something inside of Wowza based on a demand. So it could be something as simple as at the same time the app opens the gate, the app could also send a command to Wowza Streaming Engine or Wowza Streaming Cloud in this case that says start recording. So that's a great example. And the cool thing about API application interface is it's relatively straightforward. You just send, an HTTP signal basically to the platform, and it can do a variety of things. So that's a
Right.
wonderful example. By the way, Wowza does support. In fact, we were just working with one today, a doggy daycare, and we have some premier doggy daycares, if you will. And I hesitate if I'm using the wrong term, that offer that exact service. The dogs can be monitored while they're at play, while they're in their pen, if you will. So it's a great use case for video because we all love, some of us love our animals, our pets more than the people in our life, right? So
Right.
we
But
want to
make
keep an eye on them.
Absolutely. But, more so, these are living creatures. And so you never know what's going to happen while you're gone. You can't just assume like it's a phone, you put it in a locker and it's there and you're not worried about it, right? Something bad could be happening. Somebody, for all I know, and I was always wondering, how did they put these dog houses on the street? What's keeping them there? So you never know. Somebody might be trying to break into one or take it away, maybe putting it
Yeah.
on the back of the car or something. But having that monitor system is a great way to know, not just for the owner, but for the people who are managing the whole business.
That's right. That's right. And that's a great use case. As we talk about APIs today, I'm going to try to continue it in that vein because it's always enjoyable and helpful to tie a real world experience or real world scenario in with the technology that you're using. And that's one thing that APIs do. They make it real. They make it so you don't have to be in a UI. You don't have to log in. You can do things in an automated fashion. So today, Justin, I'd like to first of all offer this disclaimer that we talk a lot about the REST API at Wowza for all of our products. Today we're talking about cloud in general, and often it's just a term we use. Hey, just use the API to start a recording, use the API to create a stream. Well, the reality of that is there's a little bit of complexity there and there's some tangibility there. So I want to, at a real base level, go through the documentation in Wowza Streaming Cloud and just take a look at the live stream list of hooks and commands that we have. I'd like to put that into a text file, modify it, and just drop it into a terminal and show you that you can tailor these commands to do a variety of things. And I'm hoping this is somewhat an introductory or an orientation for people that hear the term API, but have never really used one before, because it just can help get your feet wet. The reality is when you're programming a REST API or an API-driven workflow, there's a ton of complexity. There's interaction with databases. There's syntax. There's code, application logic. We're not really touching on that today. We're just looking at the raw API and that cause and effect that is really kind of fun when you're working under the hood like we will be here shortly.
Right. And these are some examples that we have in our own docs, right?
That's right. In fact, I'll go ahead and show my browser. Right here, I'm logged into Wowza Streaming Cloud. But over here, you can see that I'm on API docs cloud.wowza.com, which is, if you can see where my cursor's moving around, Wowza Streaming Cloud REST API documentation. So this is where you find out how to use the API. And it's interesting to note that there have been several versions of the Wowza Streaming Cloud REST API. I believe we launched the product in 2014, and we've iterated and improved, where in fact it looks like version 1.6 is in process, but current version is 1.5, and that's the version we're going to focus on today.
Right. So that /current is just to let us know that that's version 1.5.
Correct. Obviously. Yeah. So another aspect you'll see, though, if you're interacting with the Wowza docs, we have this fairly exhaustive API breakdown, but there are also technical articles and examples on our Wowza support site. This is the Wowza Streaming Cloud REST API and SDK, and we have some places where you can start, give you an overview building. I'm going to just click here on examples, and then there's categories of examples. I'm just going to click streams and transcoders, and the reason I'm going somewhat fast here, but what I want to get to is you'll see it's formatted differently than our API documentation. It's tabular. It's somewhat explanatory, but this is what I wanted to get to, this curl post example, because this is a lot of what I'm dealing with today, is taking an example from Wowza documentation and then using it in a real REST API call. So that's what we're going to try to do. You want to give it a shot?
Absolutely.
So first of all, I'm logged into Wowza Cloud. So we're going to go back and compare some of these REST API calls when we start to make them. So I'm going to switch over to my text editor. And I'm going to just give me a second here to get over there. Can you see my text editor on the screen?
I can, yes.
Okay, good. So first thing you need to do is set up a foundation of how you're going to be formatting these REST API requests. Now, there are clients. For example, there's a client called Postman that really makes this easy, but I'm intentionally doing it in text form today just to illustrate the dynamics of this. So you have to have your API key and your access key. These are basically the username and password, for lack of a better term, to get into the API so that you can access it. And by the way, if you were to copy this information and start interacting with the Wowza API right now, this very minute, you could literally control my Wowza Cloud account. And I'm going to delete this key afterwards, so good luck trying to hack that later. But anyway, you need these two pieces of information, and I'll show you where you can get them in Wowza Streaming Cloud. You go to your name, and then you go to API access right here from the top bar. So we're logged into Wowza Cloud. Click on your name and click on API access. And here is the API key. So that's the first element. You'll remember over here, I have the API key right here.
Right at the top.
At the top. And then you can create different access keys. So I could create one for Justin and one for Bob and one for Andrew, and we could go on and on. I created this one here. I even said this is for demo and should be deleted when done. for obvious reasons. And then there's that access key, and I could copy that and put it inside my text file here. So that's that as well. So does that
Good
make sense,
reminder for
Justin?
yourself, though. Good
Yeah,
reminder.
Thank you. It would probably be a good idea to get rid of that after we put this video up live. So anyway, those are the two critical pieces that you have to have in order to interact with these APIs. The other part is the host. You want to be sending them to the right IP address. So in this case, api-sandbox.cloud.wowza.com, API v1.5. And if you're interacting with the documentation, like for example, here in the Wowza Streaming Cloud, here's, this document is best explored and not having someone real time trying to go for it like me. But if I click on create live stream, there's get live streams over here. There's these examples. So I should probably step back. There's
Actually, if we could, I'd like to just step back into Wowza Streaming Cloud, the management.
Yes.
One thing that you pointed out in your text file, you talked about it showed it was in Sandbox, and this isn't Sandbox. And I think we should talk about what Sandbox is.
Correct. So I'm not in Sandbox right now, but you can move into the Sandbox mode. And as I understand it, Justin, that gives you the ability to test your API without actually interacting with the real transcoders and streams and CDNs and those things.
Right. And if you go back to where you were to set up the API, you can see that there's information there regarding it. So under API access, if you scroll down a little, you see API sandbox, and definitely has some explanation there, as well as the option to open the API sandbox. So when you were in your text file, if you could just jump over to that,
Sure.
It did list specifically, see, for the Wowza Streaming Cloud host, you had API sandbox. That's why I wanted to clarify it.
Thank you. I'm glad to say two eyes on this or four eyes on this are better than one. I didn't even notice that. And it would have eventually come out, right? Because I don't think these would have worked right if they were all on API sandbox.
Right. And I see some of yours say under create base syntax, you have API sandbox, but in the fetch live stream, you don't, because I think we're planning on doing this with actually a live account.
Definitely.
But if you just wanted to test it out, you could do it in the API sandbox, and you're not going to be accountable for ingest or egress costs or anything like that, since
that's right.
Test mode.
No, really glad you pointed that out. Now, this is what I've been doing inside the documentation. I mean, you find your API that you want. In this case, it's create a live stream. And this is post. Now, if you click on this, it'll give you a sample URL, which is golden to me. So, right now it says API sandbox. I don't really want to be in the sandbox. So if I wasn't in the sandbox right now, it would obviously say something else. So I must have this document in the sandbox mode and not realize it, which is totally fine. I just need to take the sandbox out of it when I actually do the test. So the first thing we want to do is create a live stream. So I'll jump back over to my text editor. And I'm going to build my base API request. So this is something that came from the example code. So this would have come from that document that I had up in the browser where it was saying how to create, I think it was a VOD stream. They have these variables which work great for Postman, but we need to populate those. So I've taken the API key and put it in this base syntax here. I've taken the access key, put it here, and then I need to get the URL correct. Now, you were right to point out that I was in sandbox mode earlier. In this one here, I'm not in sandbox mode, so I'm just going to grab that URL. Actually, that domain I'll just grab, and I'll put it in here as my reference. So this is kind of my worksheet. So I've got my base syntax here. Looks like I'm ready to go. The Wowza Streaming Cloud version, it's v1.5, so I'm going to go ahead and update that. It's just good to have, when you're messing around with these APIs, a place that you can return to that is clean, that you haven't broken, because you will start messing around with different commands and different syntax. So just get the base URL right. And that's why I start with this simple fetch a live stream command right here, because it's so simple. I'll bring up my terminal. You should be able to see both my terminal and
Yes, we can.
So I'm just going to paste this. So again, this is just curl, and then there's the command. When I hit enter, it sent back some response. And these are the lists of live streams that are in my Wowza Cloud account. So you can see one called Demo Loop. You can see one called My Dental Broadcast. I bet you I was working with a dentist. My live event too. I'm calling these out because when I go back over to the browser, and I go back into my cloud, let me go over to my live streams. It's loading here. See Demo Loop, My Dental Broadcast. This is essentially a clean UI display of what I just showed you over here in the terminal, where you've got just a bunch of text. So that works, obviously. So that means my base URL is good and I'm good to go. The next thing I'm going to do is create a live stream. And again, this command is available in the API documentation. So if I go in here, it's create a live stream. There's a whole bunch of options that you can put in there if you want to. Everything from should it be a VOD stream, low latency, security, different types of delivery. So I'm not going to go into the methodology on what you should and shouldn't put in your stream because there's so many different use cases that support so many different things. But based on this documentation, I've created this command here. And this one here is just going to create a stream. I'm going to call it my new API stream. How about that? If I could type, I'd be dangerous. I say that in every webinar or exercise you and I do, I think, Justin. It's going to be transcoded, which means it's going to create and adapt a bit rate. I want it in US West California because that's as close as to me as possible. I'm pushing from RTMP, turning off the username and password, and I'm going to run it at 1080p. So these are just a few bits, some basic baseline stuff to create a stream.
Could I ask for one specific thing that you could add?
Of course, yeah.
Well, it looks like you've already added it though. As you're going through, I see recording is true, and that's
sure.
what I just wanted to be sure that we had, since it's nice to have the ability to record this stream while it's running.
Absolutely, and again, in that API reference, there are quite a few other options that I didn't include. But yes, recording true. I think it's typically left off. I don't think it records by default. So this command here, you can use over and over again. I'm going to call it my new API stream. And I'm just going to copy this whole thing. And one thing to notice too, that's really important. And I've had people laugh at me because I don't notice this as often as I should. This command here to fetch a live stream is get. This one to create a live stream is post. So if you're exchanging your base URL with different stuff, make sure you're updating post, get, patch. Keep an eye on that when you're creating these commands. So that's just kind of something I've learned from the School of Hard Knocks at Wowza. So I'm going to go over to my my terminal. I'm going to paste that big long command. I'm going to hit enter. It's taking a second, which means it's busy. And there it goes. It kicked out this huge jumble of information. Right. So if I were using Postman, and I'll show you Postman at the end, you would see this all formatted. But obviously it's created the stream and it's done something. If I run over to the UI for Wowza Cloud, I'll refresh this page and there's my new API stream. So obviously it created the stream, which is good. So now we want to start the stream, right? We actually want to do something with it. So that's the next command. And the one of the key things you have to recognize is in this command here, it's the same URL, but then there's that stream ID. So I need to go get the stream ID from when I created this live stream. So I actually have to go over to this pile of text. The first response is the ID. If you can see that right there. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, go back over to my text command, paste it. So I have the updated ID. And that should do it. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to clear the screen just because it looks better. You'll notice I'm pasting that same command, hit enter, and it shot out a whole, I just did the fetch live stream. I wanted to actually start it. So I got a little ahead of myself. So I'll start it in a minute. I fetched the live stream because I actually want to set it up in an encoder.
I had a question for you about that though.
Sure.
When you fetch the live stream, were you fetching that particular ID? Is that why you added it at the bottom?
Exactly. So when I created this stream here, it it generated a bunch of text just like this.
Hmm.
And so what I needed to do then was now start interacting with that individual stream. So in this case, fetch live stream, it's going to get to this URL based on that ID. It's going to bring up this information here. I know it's kind of confusing, but the intent is to get the URL in order to broadcast to this particular stream. So I actually have to go through this information. And I know from experience that I need the primary server. And again, this is just raw text. If we were using Postman, you would be able to see this in a much more formatted capacity. But I've got entrypoint.cloud.wowza.com. So there's that piece of information there. I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. And I'm just going to put it right down here in my text file. And then I need the port 1935. So I'm going to put that in here. So I'm basically building a streaming URL. And then I need the stream key. So I've got 1935 and then see this stream name right here. I got to grab that. So I'll do that as well. And that should be enough for my encoder. So what I'll do here, because I know where I'm going, I'm going to go over to OBS, and OBS likes one line. I'm just going to copy that right there, go over to my encoder. So you should see OBS here. This will only take a second. Where I'm going to paste that in there, grab the stream key, paste it in there.
So you deleted that slash just now.
I did, yeah. I'm going to hit apply. Then I'm going to go back to the API document again. And I'm going to start this stream. So this is the stream ID right here, the KVH9. I'm going to copy that, go down to this command for start live stream, paste it. At this point, everybody's thinking, why would you do this? Just use the UI. Well, remember, we're just playing around here. So I'm going to paste that there in the console, hit enter, and it says starting. So now it's starting the stream that we just created. There's also a check live stream state command. So I can actually take that ID again, paste it into this command, and it's very similar. This one starts, this one asks for state. So I'll copy that and just paste it, and it says state started. That means it's ready to go. So I'm going to jump over to my encoder. It should start working if everything is going well, and it looks like it is. So my encoder, it says it's streaming. So I'll jump back over to Chrome, and I'll go into Wowza Streaming Cloud. This is my new API stream. It should be running, and we should see the inbound connection, and that's my encoder coming in. So this is just kind of validating it. Let me refresh this. I should see the player here. And then you can see the stream coming through from the encoder. Does that make sense, Justin? Am I going too fast?
No, absolutely. In fact, I'm personally seeing new information. In fact, if you scroll up and go back to seeing all of the different streams that you have available, I never really thought about the ID that's listed.
Oh, yeah.
It's right there on the front of the screen, ID under each of the titles. But
Yep.
that's basically the ID that's referenced every time for each of the streams. And I just didn't realize this is really more than anything for the needs of the API.
Yeah. In fact, the website itself, cloud.wowza.com, is using the API. It's just a web application that we built to make it easy. But yeah, this KHVH, whatever it is, that should be the same ID that we've been interacting with here. And it is. So it's just, once you've got that ID, you can start interacting with the stream.
Right.
So, you can see that we've made it go. So the encoder is running. Now let's stop the stream. So again, I got to grab that ID, paste it, copy the stop command. So I'll go over here, I'll hit clear just to make everything done. And it stopped it. So, we can jump back over. I always like to see the cause and effect. So over here in my new API stream, I just clicked on it. It's loading. It stopped. And
Awesome.
then I'll go back out here and I'm going to actually tell the API to delete it so I can go up and clean up after myself here.
Before you do that, though,
Yeah.
do you think you could go into the documentation just so we could look at this stop live stream, the curl command, and compare it to what it would have been if we had gone into the docs?
Sure. So stop a live stream, for example, right? Is that the one
Mhm.
we wanted to take a look at?
That is right. Yes.
So
So over
it's
there on the right side, it shows the shell command right there for curl. And
correct. And I think it's pretty similar. It's got a dummy ID in there. So if I copy that, we can, I do this all the time where it's frequent that something isn't working. And so you have to go back and check your syntax. So I'll just paste that right there. And you can see that it's, same API key, access key, content type. It's a put command. So yeah, it's pretty much the same as the document there, I think.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's good definitely to know that WSC_host is going to be generally api.cloud.wowza.com. So
That's right. That's right. And then just to kind of clean things up here on the end. Actually, no, I don't want to. I don't want to delete it yet because I think we have just a second. I want to jump over to Postman. So you see, do you see Postman by chance?
no, I don't. Not yet.
Where is my Postman guy? He's hiding from me. Oh, I might have to. I might have to share it differently. Hold on, just a minute here. I can get it. So is this making sense, Justin?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's great to see too. That's why I just wanted to see the commands once again, so we can see that we have them all listed in the documentation. Now, certainly we have variables and recommendations on how you should format those variables, but just by following along or entering the hard coding that information, as it were, you can get it to work very easily, just right through a terminal.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. So it's really fun to get into Postman because you're interacting with it, but the information you get back is so much more formatted. So for example, I just did fetch live streams. So you have to adapt all of your commands, and that's kind of a tutorial for another day. But all these streams here are what I see in the, in the cloud API. So for example, there's my API stream that I had just stopped. So if I want to actually start that stream again, I can just double click on that. And the cool thing about Postman is you can use these variables. So I'm just going to set it as the live stream ID, and I can actually start the live stream. It's so cool because my host is already entered. My live stream ID is already there. If I hit send, boom, it's starting the stream. It's just that easy. And so you can interact with it at a pretty quick level. The same thing for stopping the live stream. You can interact with recordings. So if I wanted to actually start and stop the recording, I can do that. There's just a whole lot of functions inside Postman. And
it's nice to see it this way too. I mean, on the left side, when you're showing it, I see it's showing post, get, put, delete. It's at the top, things are color coded, so you know exactly what you should be looking for variables.
Absolutely. Yesterday, or no, it was 2 days ago, Andy Peavy, one of our engineers, I had a question. I was struggling with the API for Wowza Engine, and he told me all about these variables in Postman, and he gave me like a 5-minute primer, and I'm having so much fun with it because it takes the API from that awkward kind of bulky text-based foundation, which is a good start. Like going over what we went over today, it gives you that, okay, now I get it. I see the fundamentals of it. But once you start to learn how this Postman environment works, it's super powerful. Like I can get the state of a live stream. This is the one I just started. So it's running. If I want to stop it, I can go over here and just hit stop, and it says stopped. And then of course, if I want to delete it, which I will now, just hit delete. It doesn't give a response on delete, but if I go back to fetch live streams, my awesome API stream should be gone, and it is. So, that's I'm risking going down the rabbit hole with Postman, but if you're learning the APIs, it's great to start with these commands that you learn in text, you learn the nuances of curl, you learn how the syntax works,
No,
particularly
absolutely.
like this one here was actually kind of hard because you got the headers, but then you have to have the payload, right? And the payload,
Yeah.
it's very detailed. So you start,
If you could show, like
yeah,
for right now, when you go under body there, you're seeing, as you say, you call it nicely formatted, but they call it pretty. That's
they
what it says
do.
right there.
Oh,
If
back
you
in
go and
Postman.
yeah, if you go, we can see Postman right now. If you see, click on raw instead, you could
Hmm.
see what the raw format of this information is going to be. Sorry, I was hoping you were going to hit raw.
No, definitely. I'll hit body and
Okay,
then I'll
create a new live stream.
well, this is the create live stream,
Hmm.
right? So you've got your headers here where this is the access key variable and the API key variable. So you can put those in there. But then in the body, if I want to create another stream, I'm going to call it Justin's awesome API live stream, and I'm going to put a time tag on there of 1545 just because I can. When I hit start or hit send, it doesn't have the recorder in there. So let's get real crazy. Just have fun with the API
Yeah, yeah. No, I
recording.
mean there are so many different variables to put in. It's nice that you don't have to put everything in, just what you need.
Correct. So I just added recording true. Let's see if I'm good. Let's see how good I did. I hit send. It's sending the request and it created it. So
Right.
Justin's API stream 1545 has been created.
Now, if you put it
Um,
in raw mode, just so they can see what it looks like. No, no, at the bottom, right next to pretty, just click on raw.
looks
Thanks.
just like what came out
Yeah,
in my encode in my
exactly. So with the curl command, you get that same thing. It's horrible in the way that it's hard to read that information. But
right.
then you switch over to pretty and you can grab what you need from this data.
Yeah, but another cool thing about Postman is I can just double click on that ID and set
Hmm.
my live stream ID right there. Boom.
Oh yeah,
And
perfect.
then it auto fills all the rest of them. So I can start that stream over here. Boom. I just started your stream, and I can fetch the stream, or I can interact with it really easy. And the reason I
But
get
when you're fetching the
excited,
stream right there, that ID has to be changed. Is that correct? Or
well, yeah, like this one here is going to fetch all the streams.
gotcha.
So now I'm cheating a little bit because I know the command. If I take that ID and paste it here, or if I just insert the ID, like you can just do I think it's yeah, it's the W. See how they pop up, and then there's live stream ID right there. I think that's
Nice.
it. Yeah. And so then I'll right click on this, set live stream ID. So this should fetch that stream, and it did. So that's the one that's demo loop. Um, I'm getting into the weeds a little, Justin. I'm sorry, but as you can see, you can really it's almost like putting a puzzle together. You feel like you're under the hood and really working with the product.
Yeah.
So I
No,
strongly
absolutely. And I can definitely tell you're excited about Postman. It'd be nice to see it, though, going back into Wowza Streaming Cloud, that it was created and
oh
just to
yeah,
show people where the recording option is and that it was turned on.
absolutely. So you can see cloud right now. So I refresh it. There's the stream we made for you.
Right. And your stream's gone, obviously.
Uh-huh. I click on it, go over to video source, and I should down here see recording. Maybe it's down a little further. There it is, recording.
There you go.
Yes. So yeah, that's that cause and effect,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
No, it's
So
great to see.
yeah, I hope that is of value. It's a difficult topic to explain. I work with people both inside and outside of Wowza who have so much talent and deep understanding of these APIs. But for me, it's nice to be able to see the text, convert it into something that does something. That in and of itself is kind of a great feeling, like, wow, I'm really under the hood. I'm interacting with this platform using an API. Get it into Postman and start interacting with it there. And then you really get to the next level when you create maybe a cron job that creates a stream at 9 o'clock on a Sunday for a church and records it and stops it. You can set up all kinds of cool little your own um, your own framework of orchestration. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of power in this, Justin. A lot of
And
power
and
in it.
like I said before, the idea of then using this either through a website or through an application, I think just, there's more functionality that you can do for any company that either wants to offer this to their clients or even for their own internal uses.
Definitely.
Well, hey,
Definitely.
I want to thank you for showing me all of this. It's like the sun came out, but literally the sun has come out. I don't know if you can tell,
I can
shining in
tell.
my eyes.
Yeah.
Wasn't like this when we started.
No,
So
that's
thanks
great.
again.
That's great,
Well,
Justin. Pleasure. Look forward to our next opportunity to get together and go over a couple of these. And it's been great. So thank you.